Hello, I'm Dr. Carolyn Snodgrass. This CRLA tutor meeting is about conferencing skills. Now this video is for a little fun. What I'd like for you to do is watch this video and see if you can see some habits that people have whenever they are doing online conferencing. Just note the man in the upper left is apparently the one who's running or the host of the meeting, and he's experiencing some difficulty with everyone. Each person is exaggerating some common issues that people come across whenever they are in online conferencing.
How are you doing? Hey, is that Dara?
Yeah. Hey.
Guys, I can't hear anything.
Hey Dara, there's a kind of feedback thing in the back. Maybe you need to mute your phone. The light behind your head, we can't actually see you. Maybe you can adjust that. Marilee, hi. How you doing, Marilee? Hey Josh, how you doing?
Good.
Did you know this meeting was happening right now? Hey,
Look, it's my dog.
it's great. You've got. But we're going to be trying to go through some slides.
Oh, okay.
We were supposed to be going, Josh, through the figures. Have you got the figures? That's better. That's way better, Andrew. Andrew, still a little bit still can't really see. You need to turn it so the light's on your face. That's better. That's better. Great. Dara,
I feel sorry for this guy who's running the meeting. They're spending a lot of time at the beginning of the meeting just trying to get the settings correct. You can prevent this by getting in there 15 minutes ahead of time and check your technology. The woman in the top middle, she is disruptive, but also she has some lag and some issues with connectivity. We'll talk about some ways to help with that. At the top right, it looks like there's a messy background and someone's not there. The one in the left has the lighting issues. He's also walking around during a meeting. The one in the middle, someone's not even there. The person on the right, he even asked him, "Did you know this meeting was happening?" And the bottom left, she has some tech issues with not being able to hear or to be able to speak. She got on her phone, but I think it's because she's trying to dial in to create a headset through her phone. The bottom right looks like someone's not even showing their camera, so we have no idea if they're even there. Okay, you should have a link for a little worksheet. I'd like for you to use that throughout the meeting. It just lists some items that you can improve on that you come across. One of the ones for me is eye contact, and another one might be my body language. The worksheet, when you're done, you'll be turning that in, and we're going to be making comments back and forth. Just look at your instructions area, and you'll see what to expect. Let's start with hardware and lighting. You don't need to spend a lot of money in order to do a good Zoom conference. A few things I want to talk about. Down at the bottom, you'll notice that there is a good camera and headset are very important. Those are the main two that you'll need. A lot of times your laptops have their own camera built in. I want to give you a heads up, kind of a life hack, is that you need to plug in your headset before you open Zoom, because sometimes if you plug in the hardware after you get started in the meeting, Zoom will not recognize the technology, or you'll also have to dig around and find it. The second item is what we call a ring light. A ring light is handy to have for lighting up my face behind a monitor, computer monitor. The window here is one of the best lighting sources for natural light. If you'll notice her picture, the light is behind you, and you notice in the first video I showed you, that will black out the face. Now remember, people communicate through their eyes and through their face. So you can see on the right, all she did was face the window. Not everybody has that option. So what you can do if there is a window in, is you can put what we call a bounce card in front of you. In other words, like a poster board that are white, and so it reflects back onto your face the light coming from the window behind you. Also, you can use lamps. If you use a lamp, they can cause headaches sometimes, and they might be a little bright. You feel like you're in a spotlight. So what I do is just throw a scarf over the top of my lamp. Just remember to take it off of there. That could be a fire hazard. You want to test your technology ahead of time. Always check it. Show up a little early. That way you're not doing that in the middle of the meeting. You've seen that a lot when students come in. They take a moment for that issue. So before, as a professional, you need to go in a little bit early and get that set up if you can help it. With any technology that you use and you're in an online setting, you need to make sure your power source is connected so you don't get kicked out. Also, if you have a technology glitch, it's always a good idea to let the person you're in the meeting with know that it is a good time to take a break so they can go to the restroom, go get some tea, go to stretch, go check on animals, whatever they need to do. It can help a stressful situation seem a little bit more lighthearted as well. As for lighting, sometimes your webcam will also have a lock exposure. Other good places for lighting might be your home office, your patios, dining room tables, anywhere where there's some good lighting. Let's talk about framing. Where your face is in an online meeting, you need to replicate face-to-face. You would never talk to someone face-to-face like the two top pictures, underneath your chin or to the side. It's always important to have your camera, usually about eye level. Sometimes people put their laptops or their screens on boxes, so to bring it up, because when you're talking to someone face-to-face, you would look them straight in the face, hopefully. Unless you're obviously working on a worksheet or looking in the online environment, looking down at the screen. But you want to have yourself framed the best way possible. It looks much more professional, more presentable, and it's easier to communicate with someone who doesn't know you very well. It just looks much more attentive and much more professional. Another thing people do will sometimes have their framing off. They will be off to the side or too low or too high, especially if they're leaning back on a couch, something like that. You need to be somewhat close, just like the bottom picture, close to the screen so they can see you. You need to have your eyes in the top 1/3 of the screen and point the camera at you. It is very difficult to speak to someone and stay concentrating at the top right whenever you're talking to the side of someone's head. We do that all the time in online conferencing because we're watching other screens, we're watching other people. But in the case that you have to do that, just turn often and look at your camera and acknowledge them through eye contact. Again, remember, you're wanting to replicate the face-to-face environment as much as possible to help with communication and professionalism.
So, do you remember the quadratic equation?
Negative b.
Do you remember the quadratic? Oh,
negative b.
the quadratic.
Negative b.
Yeah.
This is something very common in online conferencing. You'll notice that she seems to be interrupting me, but she doesn't mean to. If possible, if you can get on your landline, like connect directly to a wall port instead of to your Wi-Fi, that'll help with this issue. You want to talk slower than usual. You also want to do what we call pause for reflection in the education world. You know how sometimes a teacher will ask something and then they'll answer it before everybody has a chance to even think about what the question is? That's what you also can practice. It seems awkward at first, but when you get used to it, you just say something and then pause and then give them a chance to answer. Anytime you're online, just remember your communication is usually off by a second or two. So they're waiting to get your communication to their machines and then their machine is sending it back to you. Usually it's not that big a deal, but often you'll see that, especially if people are using devices or in rural areas. Also, when you're sharing the screen with the student, give them time to orient to the screen as well. Let's talk about the background. The larger picture here on the left is something that I see all the time, even with professionals. You can use a background filter, such as the top right, which will block out all that background. And it's also your private home sometimes, and you want to have that privacy. Either close those closet doors or clean up your area. I have seen some very inappropriate things in my years of doing online, and you don't want people seeing your stuff. Okay, on the bottom right, this is another thing you can do is when your house is clean or when it's well lit or something, you can actually take a picture of that background and you can upload that as your background. On the bottom right, I did that to my classroom. That was during COVID. I took a picture of my classroom, and when I went home, I uploaded that picture. It looked like I was in class, and it freaked people out, surprisingly. The students were like, "Are we supposed to be there?" And I also had uploaded it to OTC's Facebook page, and I had instructors going, "Are we supposed to be on campus?" So it was kind of funny, but it also provided a background where I didn't show my office/guest bedroom as well. There is a feature in Zoom where you can make your background flip. So if you do have a pretty tidy area and your signs are there, sometimes your signs will read backwards, and you can flip your background, and that's in the camera settings area. Make sure your background's not too distracting. And often it makes sense to have them relate to the topic you're doing. I like sometimes backgrounds when I'm with my family that are funny with some comedians, but then whenever I work in a professional world, I try to do something less distracting. Your appearance represents how much you care. It's just like in a job interview. Your appearance is important. It says that if you don't care about your appearance, then you may not care about your content or the student that you're tutoring. Sit up straight. Keep your camera within your eye line. A good rule of thumb is to wear what you'd wear to work. Also, it's a good idea to dress one up of what you're expecting. So if you're expecting people to come on, they're in sweats, then wear jeans and a t-shirt. If you're expecting people in jeans and a t-shirt, then wear a button-up top or slacks or jeans. It shows your confidence and it also gains respect.
Yeah, so maybe you want to come in for drop-in tutoring, or we can also set you up with an appointment.
Hand gestures are recommended. Brooke exaggerated here just a little bit. I didn't introduce Brooke earlier, by the way. She is a volcanologist, which she is working on her doctorate in study of volcanoes. She's a supervisor here in the TLC, and right now she's online. I believe she's in Colorado at this time. She is a online supervisor, and if you go into the online tutoring, at times you may end up seeing her in there. But back to hand gestures. Be mindful of your hand gestures, but move it within the frame. You notice she lifted her arms up a little higher, but it also illustrates, and it's how we communicate in the public, so it's a good idea to do that. We want to also consider our tone and voice when we talk. Doing the baby talk, I call it the waitress talk, whenever you come online, like, hello, welcome to the tutoring center, how can we help you? Is not as professional as, hello, welcome to the tutoring center, how can we help you? So that's something to be considerate of as well. When working with a student, it's a good idea to encourage them to share their video. Not everybody's comfortable with that, that's okay. It's always hard to communicate with a screen that doesn't have the video sharing. However, you can make eye contact, and you can do that by looking up into your camera. Let's watch.
Yeah, I definitely understand how you feel, and I'm sorry that this happened. Okay. Yeah, I definitely understand how you feel, and I'm very sorry that this has happened.
That is how you communicate in face-to-face, especially when you're showing empathy. And that's something you should do also in the online. Remember, your eyes get all the attention in communication. You want to have better eye contact, so look directly into your camera. If you're tutoring a student, you can look away to help them with tutoring. At times, it's good to look back up at the screen. You want to also distance your body like you would in the face-to-face. You want your body posture, your confidence. Keep your head straight, tilt if you need to, show empathy. Again, tone and voice and the gesturing are all important for eye contact. Introduce yourself, smile, have confidence. Talk your students through the pop-ups. Say, for instance, if you put them in a breakout room and you're going to send them there, then say, okay, you're going to see a pop-up. Click on join. When you click on join, you're going to go into a room, and a tutor will be with you in about 5 minutes. If they're not there, I'm going to come back in and check on you. If you need anything, on the bottom right of your screen, click on the button that says leave the breakout room, come back out and talk to me if you need anything. Talk them through that, and when you do, look at the screen. This may be a familiar screen. What you can do to help with the eye contact, especially when you're working, is you can put the gallery view right below the camera. This helps create a connection, and it also helps you watch the person when you're talking to them. It's very common for people to watch themselves talk. There's nothing wrong with that. But there's some things that people start doing is they start grooming themselves. They start doing some odd behavior like turning their head side to side so they're showing their best side. But try not to watch yourself if you can help it. Everyone does it. What you can do is you can go down to the camera area and you can hide the self view. Be sure to check yourself first so you know that you're framed correctly in the screen. Go down and hide your self view. That way, whenever you are talking, you're less tempted to watch yourself. It's distracting and it's hard for me to pay attention. There's a camera that some people invest in that's relatively new. No one needs to have this one, but it's pretty handy, especially if you're in online conferencing, to make it much more personable. You can see the camera is on the person's face, and that way it looks like you're looking directly at them when you're talking. Okay, let's talk about distractions. Let's start talking about the guy on the top left. Do not get into conferencing or tutoring while in the car. Someone says, well, I have to be in the meeting. I can just be in the car and listen to the meeting. It's the same as distracted driving, and distracted driving is just as dangerous as drunk driving. If you'll notice in the top middle, I'm acting like I am posing. That is very distracting, and a lot of times people don't realize other people can see them doing it. Top right, that's Brooke. She is flicking her hair, and she's also eating at the same time. Very distracting. And in the right, in the middle, cats and dogs, a lot of times, or any other animal, you can't not keep them from interrupting. I understand that, but interrupting, a lot of people love to see the cat, but I have seen meetings many times come to a complete halt just for pets. So it's a good idea to try to keep your pets in the other room. My dogs would bang on the door, so sometimes that's not feasible. So if you do have a pet in, try really hard to keep them out of frame, and as well as keep yourself muted. My dogs like to bark. Down on the bottom right, you'll see that the custodian came by. She didn't know that I was in a meeting. That brings to mind to let your family know, or anyone else, that you are on an online call, so that can keep the distractions to a minimum. Now, the larger image here with Brooke is something that distracts me a lot, is when someone's not looking whenever I'm in the meeting at the camera or looking at the screen. They are looking at another screen, which it makes sense that someone would do that because you may be tutoring and needing some more resources, is when talking or other people are talking, is that means that they are clicking through other websites, finishing other work, checking emails, and they're not paying attention to the meeting. Again, you would not do that in a face-to-face. In other words, try to avoid multitasking, even though it is very normal and it's very tempting. Why did I show all these? Because they're common and we all do it. Another distraction that you want to be considerate of is smoking and vaping. Some students smoke or vape and they're at home, so it makes sense that they would want to smoke or vape while they're studying a topic. OTC has a no smoke policy, and that also goes into an online conferencing. Another thing you want to do in a meeting is, instead of just blurting out, you want to raise your hand, and that way the host can call on you. That's much more respectful, and then it's harder to just call out when you have that lag, so it becomes pretty messy. So it's a good idea to use that hand to raise it up. Be considerate of, say, like the trash collector, to the train outside, the shutting your windows, the traffic.
I'm so glad to be done with that. It's just too much talking with her sometimes.
Just remember, you assume you're always on camera, even if you're off and it's never ending. I've heard a dad yell at his daughter. I have heard a husband bodily functions very loudly. I've heard the dogs drinking water. I've heard barking. I've heard several noises, background noises, and it can be distracting, especially if you're a large group. Now, one-on-one, that's one thing, but this is something that is very embarrassing for them sometimes, and it's okay to turn their mic off. And if they ask you, man, I thought I had my mic on, say, hey, I turned it off for you for privacy. Put it like that, so you'd have some privacy. Here's where I want to make sure you finish up that paper that you have, that link that I gave you in the assignment area. Finish that up, fill it in. I want you to share it with me, and make sure you follow the instructions on the paper on sharing. Email it to me at Snodgrass, SNODGRAC, @otc.edu. Then I will respond, and I will want you to respond back to my comments. Now for some fun bloopers.
TLC, how can we help you today?
Okay, now look up at the okay, now look up at the camera and right straight into the camera like you're looking at my eyes, and do the same thing.
Hi.
Yeah.
Wait.
Okay.
Here, I have another hat I could put on too. If it's trying to be really ridiculous.
Okay. That's perfect. Okay. All right.
Yes?
Yes, perfect. We're going to have so much fun with this. Now,
my
the next
cat's
one,
in the thing.
Oh, that's awesome.
You want my whole face?
No. It's so much fun. That's awesome.
It's actually really funny that you said distracting and busy.
Is that one of your tents?
No.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Block myself.
And then come over to the right. You're so much fun.
I'm at the beach.
Negative B.
Yes.
This is gonna be fun.
You on candy camera.
Oh, shut up. That'd be a perfect one for that too.
That was really great.